So we had reached last time at that point where Savitri and Satyavan meet each other. And it is beautiful because in this year of the centenary of the mothers coming to Pondicherry, we are perfectly in sync, in harmony and alignment with the great event, the meeting of Savitri and Satyavan. But before we come to that, just a little background. We see that the earliest human aspiration documented in the Vedas, of course it is there in other pre-Vedic thoughts also, but in the Vedas it comes out very forcefully, is man's quest for immortality. Perhaps one of the first things that man encountered was the phenomena of death. Nothing is permanent, everything is changing. And death became a spur to propel him towards its very opposite. So death itself became a helper on the path. That is how one of the Upanishad puts it. And they found the door through which we arrive at the consciousness of immortality. Not necessarily the physical immortality, but there is a consciousness of immortality in which the rishis entered. The path they carved out was through the zigzag of the gods. So they would invoke a god and this god would help them to go to the next level. And at the next level again, another set of gods. And sometimes these gods were helping, but when they wanted to go to the next level, they would test, make sure that you are really ready, and at times even become like an obstacle to crossing beyond. This is how the Vedic legend goes, and one step after another. It's a long path where there is a lot of hint about the sadhana, which is primarily a kind of tapasya. With the age of the Upanishads, we see another approach which comes up. Vedas are the seed and the core, but something else develops upon that. And there is the possibility, for the first time hinted, of man's direct contact with the Supreme. It goes to that extent that one of the Upanishads even declares that there is a higher knowledge and a lower knowledge. And the lower knowledge is the three Vedas, Rig, Sam, Yajur, the prosody, the grammar, the rhythm. Of course, it means two things. One is that mere reading of the Vedas through a scholastic mind, through words and pedagogy, is to be lost in the maze. Many times we even read Savitri like that. What is the exact way to pronounce it? Yes, it's very good if we can do that, and it is the body. The word is the body. But much more important is what it embodies. Otherwise, we will often be lost merely in admiring the face and forget the heart that is lying behind that. So, the Upanishad declares that, well, this kind of a knowledge still belongs to the lower knowledge. So, there is another way to arrive at the higher reality, and it's not through grammar and maze of words and their intellectual meaning. And everybody who tried it, from Sayana to Max Muller, two different ages and two different cultures, and many others of a similar kind, they could not unlock the secret of the Vedas. They could only find bright hints, that's it. And lot of things which were inexplicable. Whereas Sri Aurobindo approached it in a very different way. He went to the experience and then understood the Vedas. So he realized the Vedas in the heart and then he understood and revealed it to man. That's why in one of his very powerful early writings, he says to India, and of course through India to the world, that what is the way for India to rise? He says, recover the Veda, recover the Aryan thought, recover the Upanishads, recover the Gita. And then he says, recover these truths within yourself. So this is the command, not just to read it and rejoice in it and go into a detailed description of this way or that way, but much more to recover it within our being. So in the Upanishads we see this direct approach, possibility of man's union with the divine reality, and very forcefully uses wonderful images, does away with all the pandemonium of the gods, and says one must concentrate upon that reality with, like as an arrow goes to the mark. That is how one should concentrate. And who will be the helper on the way? It changes these gods into psychological attributes. Satya in Pantha, truth will be the helper. Brahmacharya, the ability to hold the discursive mind, and all the varied activities which are lost in all the vital movements are gathered within and focused on one single idea. So that becomes the way of the Upanishads. A wonderful way. But then the root of the Vedas must flower further. So Sri Krishna comes and wants to make it still easier. So he opens another door. What is missing in the Vedas and the Upanishads, or only hinted at. And he opens the path of bhakti. When Sri Aurobindo was asked, what is there in the Puranic age, and particularly what is it that Sri Krishna did? So among many other things, one is he established the nation. This nation idea was established by him. All these small kingdoms, it's a very mistaken idea that it is the Britishers who came and united India. No. It is Sri Krishna who united India. That's how he killed all the moribund rajas who were full of lust and greed for power, and made a whole kingdom of Aryavarth under Yudhishthira as Samrat. But later on, that kingdom, its body began to disintegrate. And naturally, there were other things which came and started building it up again. But the first sense of nationhood, Aryavarth, was done by Sri Krishna. But apart from that, much more important, he opened the path of bhakti. Sri Aurobindo says that before that, we see mainly tapasya. But he opened the door of bhakti. So there is a new path which opened with the Gita. And then Sri Aurobindo comes. And of course, in between we see the Tantra which opens another approach through power. And now Sri Aurobindo comes and he brings another dimension. So we have the aspiration for immortality, we have the path through the gods, we have the union with the Supreme, and we have the grand trunk road of bhakti, where one can directly identify with the divine, bypassing everything else, all rules and laws. And now, as a result of that bhakti ripening in nature, that love, that surrender, the possibility of human nature changing into the nature of the divine. Because divine love has that power to do it. Just today, that bulletin has come yesterday, and one of the very beautiful Sri Aurobindos asked a question that is it Kali who is needed to transform, and we must invoke Kali, etc., etc. Sri Aurobindo says no, Kali works when there is difficulties and insincerities, etc. in nature, but when there is divine love, then nothing else is needed. Then there is no more needed the working of Kali, because she works in a very different way. She doesn't even make you feel that there is a working going on. That is the beauty of divine love, which takes the burden of human nature upon itself. And this aspect of divine love, and that to divine love incarnating, we find in Savitri. So that is why when people compare it with the Vedas, I try to say this, that it's more than the Vedas. Vedas don't speak about the mystery of the divine incarnation. For the first time, we see this mystery hinted at in the Gita, in those 4 terse lines, packed with power and delight. And Sri Krishna says, among the 3 secrets, it is one of the secrets which is not revealed to everyone, that the divine becomes human. And in Savitri, we see this aspect, the divine becoming human, is put out into the forefront. What does he do becoming human? How does he deal with people? We see it in, of course, in mother's life. The whole phase of yoga changes after the mother's coming. She takes upon herself the burden of the disciples. They were left largely to the path which was shown to them, and they had to walk the path. But she begins to walk on everybody's path. But something is still required, and that is the free consent of the individual. The surrender has to be made with freedom, and more important than freedom, with love. It is a loving surrender. One has to welcome the divine into one's life and not approach it with fear and awe. Oh, what happens? Will I lose this? What may happen in my life? Is it really a good thing to do? And especially when world is full of practical men who are not so practical. Actually, because what people don't realize is there is a bad bargain. To be running after the world is a very bad bargain, because at the end of the day you lose both. The world and the joy one is seeking through it. But to turn to the divine, even if it means to turn away from the world, is a good bargain. Only it should not be done as a bargain Because at the end you get the divine and everything else, including the world. He gives it back to you. It's so beautiful. And yet, this is the paradox that, very few really seek it. And among those few is Satyavan, a rare, a chosen one. And where does Savitri find him? Not in the palace, not in the, in the halls of the rich. He is not exceptionally qualified in terms of, he is not a Harvard graduate, for instance. He is not a perfect musician. But there is something within him which makes him ready. This aspect is very beautiful. Why Satyavan? And in the very beginning introduction of Satyavan, just a little bit is touched, more comes later, we see this hint. On one side, Satyavan, he has been schooled by nature. Poor fellow was, not poor fellow, he says, I am glad this happened to me, which we'll see later. He has been put into the jungle, he is alone, and there he grows up amidst nature. And possibly he could not really go to a formal schooling. But thanks to that, he discovers an inner knowledge, an inner wisdom. And he has many glimpses. But still, there is something in him which still seeks. And that is the beauty of Satyavan. Satyavan is a seeker who doesn't stop. He recounts the list of all that he has glimpsed. And yet he says, still, when I found God, I lost this world. And when I was with the world, I lost God. So he's looking for the key to reconcile. This is the ideal sadhak. Not satisfied with just some experiences. Oh, this happened. I had this wonderful experience and very lovely realization, and one keeps talking about it. That's past. Look at Sri Aurobindo. He could put everything behind. Even the high experiences of Vasudevam Sarvamiti, when he comes to Pondicherry, what does he write? He says, all that I have done, all that I have realized are nothing but beginnings. This is the beauty of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. It's nothing but beginning. So Satyavan is a diamond upon earth. He has realized many things. And yet he feels this is just a beginning. There is something more. And when he sees Savitri, there is a recognition from the heart. He doesn't ask her. So this is the inner recognition. The inner initiation, that is another aspect. So that is why in Indian thought, there is nothing like conversion or evangelistic, even any kind of Indian thought, and least of all in Sri Aurobindo's yoga. There is nothing like, Mother and Sri Aurobindo are avatar, they are so great, you must turn to them. Nothing. When the time comes, the soul will recognize the divinity which is within them. And if the time has not come, any amount of lecturing doesn't help. So Satyavan is such a person whose time has come. So because his time has come, it is amazing that when he sees Savitri, what are his words? How does he feel? How does he look upon her? And we have it, we read last time, just a few lines, page 401. I have beheld the princes of the sun, burning in 1,000-pillared homes of light. He is not an ordinary being. He has seen goddesses, pillars of the sun, which would mean the great 4 goddesses which are standing at the doors of entry to the supramental truth. So he says, I have glimpsed all of them. And therefore, I suspect that you are one of them who is coming from there. So how does he recognize? Although to heaven thy beauty seems allied, much rather would my thoughts rejoice to know that mortal sweetness smiles between thy lids, and thy heart can beat beneath a human gaze, and thy aureate bosom quiver with a look, and in tumult answer to an earthborn voice. This is the mystery of the avatar. He becomes human. And Satyavan has this beautiful way of expressing it. I think last time also we were talking about one of the poems of Amal Kiran, where he says, I have but mortal hands to supplicate, and my prayer is coming out from mortal lips. I cannot reach that level, but you surely can become human, because you are infinite. You are capable of doing. It's not possible for me to straight away arrive to those superhuman heights. But you are capable. You can become like us. So Satyavan is asking her, I feel there is in you that divinity. You are not just an ordinary mortal. He doesn't know her at all. This is the inner recognition. And when that moment comes, it is finished. Life is finished. Yoga is finished. It has to only unfold itself. But it is finished when there is an inner recognition that she is the divine. And yet, what a beautiful prayer. He is not saying, tell me how I should reach thee. He is making a grand act of surrender. Can you come down to us? And that is how he approaches. If our time-vexed affections thou canst feel, earth's ease of simple things can satisfy. If thy glance can dwell content on earthly soil, and this celestial summary of delight, thy golden body dally with fatigue, oppressing with its grace our terrain, while the frail, sweet, passing taste of earthly food delays thee, and the torrent sleeping wine descend. Let thy journey cease, come down to us. So it is the soul speaking to the divine. This is the how it welcomes the divine. Come down, come to us. And we have very little to offer. And if you can feel our misery, this is the difference between the gods, the deities, and when the divine becomes human. The deities don't understand why we cry. They wonder why human beings are all the time miserable. They cry for everything. If this is lost, they cry. If they have a scratch, they cry. If their car gets hit, they cry. If somebody doesn't get admission in a college, they cry. If somebody becomes sick, they cry. If somebody dies, they cry. Because for the gods, death doesn't exist. They don't understand suffering. They don't know the value of tears in humans' eyes. They don't understand imperfection. They are not blessed with failure. They don't know what misfortune can do to human beings, to break him or to steal his nerves to ascend to the divine. They don't know all this. They only know power and glory and abundance, and they can give it away. So they don't know. But when the divine becomes human, he knows. The mother took upon herself all the sufferings even before the ashram is formed. There are 2-3 phases of the mother's physical life on earth which are most critical and crucial to her own life. One of them is 23, 24, just before the formation of the ashram, when many serious illnesses from heart to other things she was afflicted with. And people were wondering because they knew that she is not an ordinary, she is someone very, very great. Everybody knew that. So much so that at one point, for the first time, they noticed that Sri Aurobindo became serious. Because it means if her physical body, if her consciousness cannot adapt to the body and the body cannot adapt to that consciousness and breaks down, then what it would mean to the work for which they have come down. And then one day, next day or next day, she said, now everything is fine. Everything will be all right. So she took upon herself all the miseries. Then the ashram came that, okay, my children will go through all these problems. And she knew the core, the inner cure. So time-vexed affections. Every pain the mother has experienced, including the pain of separation from the divine. She had realized the divine. So when did she experience the separation? She experiences separation when she goes away from Pondicherry. First time when she goes away, she says that I left my psychic being here. And it was such a miserable period. If we read her diary note, as soon as she goes away, she says again the same harsh solitude. She speaks about it, that the door is closed. And she is again thrown into the battle, the frenzy, all kinds of things. Because she has to bear what it means for the human consciousness to be separated from the divine. And then she says, all this finished when I came back. So this is how Satyavan tests her or asks her or requests her that, can you feel what we feel? Do you understand what it means for a mortal heart to suffer, feel love and fail and feel hurt? Do you know what our wounds are? Not just the visible one, but the invisible ones. And then he says this, descend. If this is so, let thy journey cease, come down to us. He is not looking for a God who will just grant some boons. He is a very smart person. He says, if you know my misery, you can cure it. The gods cannot cure it because they don't know what human misery is. Close is my father's creepered hermitage. Look at the description. This whole canto is full of deep suggestions. That is the beauty of poetry. Poetry is burdened with many things. It is burdened with truth. It is burdened with power. It is burdened with beauty. It is burdened with delight. And to a deft master poet, it is burdened with infinite suggestions. So outwardly, he is simply describing father's hermitage. He lives nearby. But look how he is describing it. Close is my father's creepered hermitage, screened by the tall ranks of these silent kings. He's not saying like we would do, oh, please come down. My father, miserable poor creature, blind, living like this, outcast from his kingdom. He has no place even to live. Can you please help? When we approach the divine like this, our consciousness is full of bitterness, complaining, grumbling. So first divine has to do something there. But look at Satyavan's surrender. He has lived a life of surrender. So he tells, sir, he is surrounded by kings. Who are these kings? The tall trees near his hermitage. Ashoka trees. That's why they are called Ashoka. Without grief. Like kings, they are surrounding him. So he says, screened by the tall ranks of these silent kings, sung to by voices of the hue-robed choirs, whose chants repeat transcribed in music's notes the passionate colored letterings of the boughs and fill the hours with their melodious cry. He doesn't have a 2-in-1 music system. He cannot afford it, but he has much greater music. The music when the winds flow through the trees. Would you like to listen to that music? And the streams. Now you see, there is a tendency to go back to that music. So after a long time, people record these musics, sea, rivers. And many of these musics are trying to, and they say it's very relaxing. It is true, it's very relaxing. Here, of course, we have free music. Every day, every evening, there is free music. And this music is sometimes disturbed by the band which sometimes plays. But this is a 24/7 music. Just sitting by the sea and listening to these waves breaking upon the shore can have immense relaxation. Why? Because it connects us to the primeval longings of the earth. It is a very biological reason to it. Because part of us still inherits that biology. And so, how did the animals relax? They didn't have 2-in-1. So they sat by the side of the rivers and the winds, they got relaxed. Now we are relaxing with TV and it's filling our nerves with all kinds of things. So much so that the nerves are getting badly impacted, which we'll understand later. Many of the disorders are possibly because of that. It's just my own theory. But he's saying, come, I will arrange some music for you. Who will sing? The kings, the Ashoka trees. And as the winds go past through them, it's a lovely music. My father hears it daily. Come, would you like to listen? Amid the welcome hum of many bees. So, in music there is also this sangat. There is, when two musicians are playing. So there has to be a very good balance. So on one side the winds, on the other side the hum of the bees. So you don't think that it is just a normal music. There is a kind of a mini concert. Invade our honeyed kingdom of the woods. There let me lead thee into an opulent life. Amazing suggestion. It shows us how to live life. When we lose everything, Still nature is with us. Mother Nature, our first mother. She is there to welcome us in open arms. She will feed us, she will sing to us. The first, what is it called, Lori, the song of sleep. She would sing to us still if we go back to her. And she refreshes us. That's why at one of the places in Thoughts and Aphorisms, the mother says, because life has become so stressful, city life particularly, and why it becomes stressful, mother gives a different reason. It's not because of the traffic, the speed and all that, no. She says because it is built around desire. The city's life starts with commerce, money, industry. All other things, cultural center and seats of power and temple get add-ons. They are not the central thing. The central is desire. Even the youngsters rush to the city to get more money and satisfy desire. So desire has within itself this sense of constant wanting and longing. That's why those who begin to live in the city, they get inflicted by this disease. It's like a welcome gift. Everywhere we get a welcome gift. So there is a welcome gift. So this gift is that, oh, you are coming to city, Delhi, good, visa, stamped, and below that visa is written, welcome to the city of Delhi, to Mumbai, and please pick up your free parcel. So we think, we don't know what is the free parcel. So what is a free parcel? Free parcel is greed. Everywhere where there is a free parcel, it is greed. Best way to hook people, free. So we think, something free we are getting. So we pick up that free parcel. And it is full of greed and desire. It sits on our head and back. And from that day onwards, we lead a very tormented life. We have everything, but we have nothing. So, but there is another kind of life. And Satyavan calls it opulent life. So he doesn't say, my father has lost everything. He says, my father is leading a rich life. Look at the suggestion. And only Sri Aurobindo with his masterly genius can bring this thought to us. That even when we have nothing, we have with us Mother Earth's love. So he says, opulent life. Bare. Now again these two lines, so powerful. Bare. Simple is the sylvan hermit life, yet is it clad with the jewelry of earth. These two lines are like power packed. So often we think opulent life means surrounded with masterpieces from this place, that place, brass statues, and people make their houses opulent with these things and take a great pride in covering it up. So sometimes, if you want to expose the hollowness of the life, just ask, what is this painting about? And very often it'll be, it's modern art. Or there'll be a library full of the choicest books, but none of them is read. And that is the paradox. So, that is not opulence. There is another kind of opulence. There is another kind of beauty. It's a beauty of simplicity. He says that don't expect in this opulent life that you will see silver spoons and gold jewelry and crockery. You will see something else. It is surrounded by the jewelry of the earth. And the jewelry of earth is something amazing. Every night we see the necklace that the stars weave around the body of the unseen. And they make the invisible visible to us. The Akash Ganga. So this is the jewelry of the earth. Every night we see it at display, free of cost. But none can. The price is too heavy. So here it comes. Bare, simple is the sylvan hermit life, yet is it clad with the jewelry of earth. Wild winds run, visitors midst the swaying tops. And we are not alone. Don't think we are alone. We are frequented with visitors. Who are the visitors? Wild winds. They keep running about and come to us. So they are among the first visitors who are moving in and out. Like in a palace, you have servants coming in and out. So these winds are coming in and out. Through the calm days, heaven's sentinels of peace, couched on a purple robe of sky above, look down on a rich secrecy and hush, and the chambered nuptial waters chant within. So this is how palaces are. That there are ministers sitting on high thrones, looking down on the carpet, and while music is going on. So he says, my house is no less than a palace. These tall trees leaning against the purple robe of the sky, and they look down upon the carpet which earth has, with the lovely grass and creepers and many scented flowers and the music of the winds. So they are the ministers in my Father's kingdom. Enormous, whispering, many formed around, high forest gods have taken in their arms the human are a guest of their centuried palms. And then he says further that no, I am not just talking about physical trees. Yes, they are there, but there are the forest gods who are there. So we are never alone. We are surrounded by many, many invisible beings. And the feeling of, or rather the pain of being alone comes from the ego. Because actually we are never alone. It's not only the divine, but many. Of course the divine is always with us. But even we are surrounded by beings, entities. Sometimes they give us hope, fill us with joy and peace. At another times, all kinds of beings are there whom we invite, who will fill us with despair and darkness. Some come uninvited, seeing a little opening. So they come and say, oh, very nice, there is some leftover food for me. What is the leftover food? Jealousy. Wow, I will eat it. So they eat it, grow fat, then they don't want to go. They want to rest nearby. So they rest on our hand or on our shoulder and they will say, oh my God, it's hurting very much. Can I apply some move? We need to tell jealousy, move out. This is move. Oh, my hand is aching so much. My feet are so tired because these guests have come. Uninvited guests. And we have given them food, nice food, fear. When doctors also will supplement that food. So all this, but his life is different. King Dumatsina's life. So forest gods have come and they stay there and they fill that hour with pomp and luxury. This is true luxury. Look at Sri Aurobindo when he was asked once, what kind of life is it? About Krishna and many questions people asked. He says, which Krishna do you want me to contest with? It's not exact word, but something like that. He says, the Krishna who put the Gita in my hands, the Krishna who has been my guide in the beginning of my yoga, the Krishna with whom I have spent hours and hours in his embrace, delightful embrace. What would be that life? We say Sri Aurobindo was alone in this room. How foolish our vision can be. He was surrounded by the anguish and the aspiration of the earth. He was surrounded by celestial beings. Shiva and Krishna would walk and Mother would walk with them. They would come to say, what work can we do for you? What a life that is. That is real pomp and luxury. Not, people who will come and flatter us because we can give something. Oh, you are so wonderful person. Really, I must be wonderful. Please come tomorrow also. Now this fellow has no interest in you, but in what he is getting out of you. So next he comes, wow, lovely arrangement. He is not interested. What a facade of human life. But when the gods come, they speak the truth. Apparelled are the mawns in gold and green. Every morning the curtains change. And you will see gold curtains and green curtains. Green carpet, fresh with dew, and you will see gold curtains all around. That is how my mornings begin. I open the gold curtains and there is light. Sunlight and shadow tapestry the walls to make a resting chamber fit for thee. So this house is. Look the way he expresses. There is something, lot of things. When people say, what can I give to Mother? There is nothing I can give. There is always something. There is always our heart. There is always our love. There is always our thoughts. There is always our feelings. Only we can give it like bitter Karela, or we can give it like a sweet, full of honey. This choice we have. Even if we give Karela, divine will eat it. But he doesn't need it because he is not diabetic. How nice if we give him sweet. So when we live life like this, with this attitude that we are rich in poverty, there is a line, there is a poem of Sri Aurobindo where he says, "Even in rags, I am God." I think the poem is life. Even in rags, I am God. Fallen, I am divine. Slain, I live. Even in rags, I am God. This is how these beings live. When Alexander goes to Diogenes and says, "What can I give you?" Diogenes doesn't even bother. Then he wants to introduce him. So he says, "Don't you know I am Alexander, the master of the world, king of the world, who's conqueror of the world. I can give you anything you want. What do you want?" So when he says, "I am Alexander the Great," Diogenes says, "I am Diogenes the dog," because he was living in a small little tub. That was his place. He said, "I can give you anything you want. Why are you living in a tub? I can make a palace for you. What do you want?" So Diogenes says, "Just move out of my path. You are blocking the sunlight." So Alexander remarks, "If I cannot be Alexander, I would be Diogenes." So this is the life, rich. Therefore, want ceases away. Want does not cease because one tries to crush it. That's not by offering, by consecrating. A time comes when we discover a much greater beauty, much greater love, much greater sweetness, before which all the joys of the world pale away automatically. So Satyavan has reached that point where he is surrounded by an inner richness, inner prosperity, inner wealth of Mahalakshmi, and therefore he doesn't feel the need of want. And now look, Savitri's reply. A while she paused as if hearing still his voice, unwilling to break the charm, then slowly spoke. Again in 2 lines. Brilliant with luminous suggestions. How do we listen? Actually, we don't listen. We are eager to speak. Universal defect leading to so many problems. Before a person has finished speaking, we have already formed in our mind idea, thoughts, everything. And what I am going to say next, isn't it? That's how most of us deal. So, just as the person has finished, we have bombarded with our own stuff. We have not heard. We have not listened. But Savitri listens. How does she listen? First with the outer ear and then with her heart. So in the heart she has felt a charm in the voice, a sweetness and the delight. Words have faded away. Now she is capturing the essence, the truth behind those words. This is the mystic way of listening. So she listens. A while she paused as if hearing still his voice, unwilling to break the charm. Then slowly spoke. Musing, she answered, "I am Savitri." This is an amazing line. One small line is so power-packed. As if nothing else is needed to be said. I mean, look at how Satyavan is introducing himself with this, that, all this. But Savitri, like majesty of the gods, only the gods can say like that. "I am Savitri." One line captures everything else. But then she says further, "I am Savitri, princess of Madra." So first her identity, I am Savitri. She also means I am the luminous daughter of the sun. Next, I am princess of Madra. That's it. Who art thou? What name musical on earth expresses thee to men? Again another secret. Secrets after secret he is revealing to us. Names must express something of a deeper reality. That's how we used to keep names. That's why all names were from Aditya Sahasranam or Lalita Sahasranam, because all names must express some aspect of the divine. Of course, now we do it from a book, but formerly people would go to a sage and seer and he would say, put the name, like how Krishna's name is kept by Rishi Garg. Why Krishna? Because Krishna is one who will draw everything towards himself. He has that power of akarshan. So he is Krishna, who can draw the whole creation towards himself. It represents his inner reality. So when he says, I am Krishna, it means everything. So Savitri says, I am Savitri, princess of Madra. This, nothing more is needed. My qualifications, how much we are eager to say, I am PhD, D.Lit, DM, MD, nothing. I am Savitri, princess of Madra. Who art thou? What name musical? What is that name, which musical name, which expresses thee? How do people call you? Name is only a means, not the identity of the person. When we ask identity, I am so and so. No. It is very rare that the name is the true identity. With Savitri, the name is the true identity. But with most of us, the name is only a facade. Who art thou? What name musical on earth expresses thee to men? What trunk of kings, watered by fortunate streams, has flowered at last upon one happy branch? This is another recognition. He has not said that, my father. He has only described his kingdom, which is like the forest. But looking at his face, the Tej, this is not a person who is just a primitive man in the wild. You are surely somebody who has been watered by great kings. And after all this blood and tears and sweat that has gone into the making, you are the finest flower of that lineage of kings. Again, Savitri has an inner recognition. That is the idea that we must wear that identity in the very form. There should be no need. That is why Jai Vijay are cursed. When people are entering, the great sage, I think it was Brigu, wanting to enter Vishnu's abode. So Jai Vijay, the Dwarpal, they ask for identity. Pass, where is the pass? So they said, I don't carry pass, I can go anytime to Lord Vishnu. No, we don't recognize all this. I am seer so and so, you may be in your home, show me the pass, that's all. So they curse him. You don't recognize a person. You just look for such formal things, such an obscure consciousness full of suspicion and fear, even though you are at the gates of the Lords. I curse you to live in the kingdoms that befit your nature. Go to the Asuric births. That is how they become Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh and Kans and Shishupal and Ravana and Meghnad, or Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Because there is an inner recognition. It doesn't need any outer identity. So here she has recognized, why is thy dwelling in the pathless wood? You are not meant for this place. Far from the deeds thy glorious youth demands, haunt of the anchorites and earth's wilder broods, where only with thy witness self thou roamest. So there is a action, a kind of life appropriate to each age. This was recognized in the Indian system and still is valid. There are very few who can take that kind of plunge, who at a very young age have finished already things in the past lives and are ready to take the plunge directly. But most have to go through these 4 ashramas of life. They have to go through the experience of life to arrive at the fullness of God seeking, not the fullness of God realization, but just the fullness of God seeking. Because outer life prepares us for the inner life. That's why Mother used to say, if you come for an escape because life is difficult, you cannot stay here because you will find much more challenges. Then you will feel outer life was much better. Less challenges, only outer challenges. You could at least come home and rest. But there is no rest and peace here because you have to find that inner truth. Otherwise you will be surrounded. So that's why she says, this is not your time to be here. This is for anchorites. When people grow old or they choose a barren path, sannyas, but you are in the glory and the prime of youth. You should be doing great deeds. Afterwards, fine. Come to this place. In nature green, in unhuman loneliness, surrounded by enormous silences and the blind murmur of primeval calms. So, I can see what you are saying. And it's very nice to be, lonely, filled with silence and the gods and everything. But at this point of time, you have to do great deeds. Great works await thee. And this is a very beautiful thing, even in the Gita, when Arjuna says, I want to take sannyas. Basically, Shri Krishna is not saying that, that there is anything wrong in renouncing life and going back. He's saying, at this point, when you are called upon to do a great deed, when your action or inaction is going to create either order or chaos in this world, you talk about sannyas to run away, that too for purely personal reasons. So first one has to engage in this battle of life. When mother was asked, why wars are there? She says, wars are schools of courage. Because that's a quality needed in inner life. So if we keep running away from every situation of conflict and find an easy way out, then when we face the inner conflict, we'll again look for an easy way out. Okay, mother will do everything, I have left it to mother. That's the easy way out. Because that's the path we have followed. Every time there's a problem, dad, please do it for me. Mom, take care of this. It's okay for a child, but when we grow up, it means that we have to handle it. The sign of adulthood of a child is not he's 18, 25 or all this. The sign is saying, Dad, I'll do it my way, don't worry. I'll do it. This is something very nice. Today's children are really, speaking this language. But the other model was, all my life, my identity is from my father. Everything is from my father. I am so and so's son. I am so and so's daughter. But the sign of youth and adulthood is, I am myself. I don't need. If I need, I'll let you know. So then you should know, now my child has grown up and it's a very beautiful thing and he is an adult. I am there when you need. So here she says, you are in an age when you are meant to do glorious deeds. Tell me, who are you? Why you have come here? There is something amiss in your story and I want to understand that. So today is only one session because there is a play at 8:30 in the Ashram Theatre on the Mother's Coming, Centenary's Tribute. So we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll meet at 5:15 again and continue Satyavan's answer to Savitri.